So that's going to do it for our talk about hoops, or at least this section of our talking about hoops. Tom, you ready for a little bit of rapid fire?
Let's go.
All right, man. So let's just jump right into this thing. So we're gonna start off with a little bit of football. We'll talk a little basketball, and who knows where we're gonna go from there. But so the first question: there's still another day that Notre Dame players can jump into the portal. We've already seen a handful of guys take advantage of that opportunity. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you at the names that have already jumped in?
I'm going Animal House right now, and I'm quoting Dean Wormer for John Blutarski's grade point average. My surprise level is 0.0. As we said earlier in the show, it's the way of the world.
Yeah.
Unless Jeremiah Love jumps into the portal, then I may be a little bit surprised.
Yeah, fair.
But it's free agency. If you can go, you might as well go. And that's what we've seen. It doesn't surprise me. Anybody on Notre Dame football is in the portal. It won't surprise me in the offseason if somebody from Notre Dame basketball is in the portal. That's the way the game is played today. And these kids, they're going to play it. So I'm going 0.0 on surprise.
Love it. Look, the portal is just such a new thing that everybody just has to deal with. Everybody's got to deal with it because, as you said, your roster is your roster for 1 year. And then you've got to re-recruit every single player on that roster, some more than others, obviously, but you've got to re-recruit everybody. And your relationship, I think this is the key here, because if anybody watched Brian's show earlier today, he kind of talked about this at the beginning, but you know, there's a reason that there's so many offensive linemen in the portal, and it goes back to relationships and being as transparent as you can possibly be with your relationship with these players, because it's not like 20 years ago where you're a position coach and you can say whatever you want to these kids and they're stuck. Like, they have no recourse. They have to do what you ask them to do. And if you break a promise, it is what it is and they'll deal with it. That is not the case anymore. You cannot be that coach. You can't be that kind of coach anymore and expect to retain your players. I'll just say that. So, it's year to year, man. And coaches have to understand that if you've got beef with a player, or you make a promise to a player and it doesn't come through, or, whatever, that player has every right to just be like, you know what, I'm out. And it may surprise people on the outside because maybe that player was playing a bunch or, whatever the case may be. But it's a different world. Coaches have to be careful with what they're doing these days. You can't make these pie in the sky promises to players if you're not going to follow through with it.
It's not 1985 anymore. It's not 1995. It's not 2005. It's not even 2015.
All right.
It's 2025, and you either play the game the way it's played, or they leave, or you're left behind. So right. Notre Dame, you don't want to see anybody leave, but guess what? At the end of the day, everybody leaves.
It's just so true. It's so true. And every team is different from year to year to year. And it's even more different now than it ever was before. And people are just going to have to get on board, man. Get on board or they're going to hit the portal. I mean, that's just the way of the world. And everybody better get used to it. So to answer the question, the portal doesn't surprise me anymore. I get used to. I used to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe so-and-so is leaving. Now it's like, oh, okay. Like, next man up, who's going to take that spot, or, whatever the case may be. But there's nothing like if Charles Jagasaw or, like you said, Love or CJ Carr or somebody like that jumped in the portal, I'd be like, oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. There's got to be a story there, but hey, got to move on. Got to get it figured out. I mean, that's just the way it is.
The portal jumped the proverbial shark last year when Rico Flores went into the portal and decided to transfer, because all we heard all year during Rico Flores' freshman year was how this kid loved Notre Dame, how he loved Marcus Freeman, how he was such a good fit for the place. It was good for him coming back out of California to go to school in Northern Indiana. And he had it seemed like he had created such a niche for himself in that program. And then he's in the portal.
Right.
So it was like, you know what? If Rico Flores, who had all the potential and all this ability, and all this bright future ahead of him at Notre Dame. If Rico Flores can go in the portal, guess what? Anybody can go in the portal.
Anybody. So don't be surprised when there's more names. They're going to come up over the next 24 hours. I mean, it's going to happen. So just prepare yourselves, folks, that whoever your favorite player is, there's a chance they could hit the portal. I mean, it just is what it is. All right. So Notre Dame has consistently been kind of in that tier 2 area where they're contending, but just can't seem to get over the hump, at least not consistently. So, Tom, do you buy or sell that Notre Dame is finally at a place where they should be able to contend on an annual basis?
Buying, only with the disclaimer of they should be able to contend. Will they contend on an annual basis? Too early to tell because, again, as we talked about earlier in the show, we have no idea what the collateral damage of what this season will be long term as far as the health of this football team in 2025. But yeah, absolutely. Marcus Freeman, Pete Bavacqua, everybody associated with Notre Dame football has collectively raised the bar to where they're not going to settle for a college football playoff appearance once every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Now it's, you better make it 2 out of 3 if you're a serious contender. If you've got the structure, if everything we've heard about this Notre Dame football program where everybody's aligned, the structure's in place, there's a plan in place, you better be able to follow that through year after year after year to where it's not, well, Notre Dame made it in 2012 for a national championship, and the next time they played for a national championship was 2025. This has to be a semi-regular occurrence for this football program because, as we've said, Marcus Freeman, Pete Bavacqua have raised the bar. Now you better meet that bar every year, every other year.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I think all the pieces are in place for this team to be a contender. You know, you can't predict injuries. You can't predict, things of that nature. I mean, the way that they were able to overcome all the injuries on defense specifically was amazing. And that's a culture thing. That's a program thing, right? I mean, there's plenty of Notre Dame teams in the past that if a starter went down, you were in trouble. You know what I mean? And so they have had a concerted effort to build the depth of this team up so that they can absorb some of those injuries, right? I think you make a great point about the administration being all on board with football, right? And that's not a super recent thing, but it's a recent enough thing, right? You got the new indoor facility, obviously, that was a big one, but then you also got the new football building that's under construction right now and what that's going to bring to the table. And, all of the resources they're pouring into the football program, both monetarily, just all of the above. It's very clear that everybody's on the same page. And I think that's massive. And then you just look to Marcus Freeman and what he is able to do just from a personality standpoint, from a, we can tell what he's building from a culture standpoint with this team, right? Even alumni that never played for Marcus Freeman feel like they're more involved with this team than ever before. You know what I mean? Because he's doing the right thing. He's reaching out to the alumni. They've all said they wish they played for him, and all these different things. It's just a different culture. And I think still, even though it's college, right? Culture used to be such a big deal in college. And I think a lot of teams have gone away from that to a degree with the portal and with NIL and all of those different things. I think it's overlooked. I think culture is overlooked. And I think Marcus Freeman has a very strong culture at Notre Dame. And I think that can overcome a lot of things. And, again, we'll see how it plays out year after year after year. But you can see the incremental, gains and all of that. Can you sustain it? That's the big question. I think the pieces are in place to do that, but we still need to see if it can be done.
Now the tough stuff starts for Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
This was great. But you know what? It's going to get a lot harder moving forward. And you better respond and you better deliver.
100%. He's raised his own bar. That's the thing, right? That's what happens with success is you raise your own bar and failure is not an option anymore. You're going into year 4 now. You've been on the job training, first year head coach, all that stuff. Those excuses don't count anymore. You know what I mean? Like he has now raised the bar for himself and this program to be at a certain level. And I think that's what is going to be expected moving forward, which I'm okay with that. I'm okay with raised expectations. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not comparing him to Nick Saban in Alabama yet, obviously, but the expectation was the national championship every year at Alabama. Okay. Like, it's probably why he got out eventually. You know what I mean? But it's okay to have that as an expectation. So, all right, let's move on here. So, the start time for Notre Dame at Miami was announced today as a shocker 7:30 kickoff at Hard Rock Stadium. I know how much everybody on the beat loves night games, and so I had to ask this question. So over under, Tom, 4.5 night games for the Irish in 2025.
I'm going under.
Okay.
Miami, USC, maybe Arkansas,
Okay. I can see that.
and then maybe either at Pittsburgh, or how about this? How about Notre Dame opens at home against Texas A&M at night?
We're on the same page there.
So I'm going like there's still some ors. I'm only going to go 4 night games.
Yep.
Because you look at that schedule, not a lot of attractive night games. So like Syracuse, no. At Boston College, no.
No.
So I'll go under. I'll go 4 under 4.5.
Yeah, I think 4 is the number. I really do. Because I think obviously Miami, that one's set. But I think A&M, I think that is a prime night game at Notre Dame Stadium. I mean, why not? And they've never done an opener as a night game. I get it, but I could see that being a night game. You've got 2 big home games, in my opinion, right? You've got A&M and you've got USC.
That's it.
I think USC you're guaranteed to get as a night game. It usually is. I think they could make Texas A&M a night game. I really do. So that's 3. And then Arkansas, I think, is a toss-up. But it's an away game. ESPN, ABC loves to put Notre Dame at night when they're on the road. So I could definitely see that one being a night game. So I think you're right. I think it's 4. So I'm going to take the under as well. I should have set the number at 3.5. Sean is so much better at setting numbers than I am. But I think 4 is the number. I think that's where we're going to end up. I do. Just not a fan of those night games, man.
Night games suck. Sorry.
Awful.
They suck. Because, again, fans don't realize when the night game ends, that's when our work begins.
Yes, 100%. You know? Yes. That's when the 3-hour post-game show starts. That's when all of your article writing starts. Like, it is it just makes for a very long night. I'm just not a fan.
So I'm filing my stuff at like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on night games.
Yes.
So,
it's awful.
So if the media, if fans don't understand that the media doesn't like night games, go to a night game, go home and do work for 3 hours, and then you'll see how it feels.
Right. It's awful. It's absolutely awful.
Night games are awful.
Everybody always gives me a hard time for hating night games, but I'm telling you, they're awful. There's nothing good about it. There's nothing good about it. The only good thing is you get to watch more football, I guess, during the day of other teams, but I would trade that in a heartbeat for a noon Notre Dame game. But anyway. All right, little hoop talk. So Notre Dame basketball is in its second year under Micah Shrewsberry. There were expectations of a step forward this year, and obviously recruiting has been very good. So I ask you, big picture, is the 24-25 team worse, about what you expected, or better than what you thought they would be?
I'm going to go worse because of the injury to Marcus Burton and because of the fact that they have not been able to establish any sort of identity away from home. Not saying they were going to win at Duke, not saying they were going to win maybe at NC State, but you can't lose by 11 points at Georgia Tech. You can't lose to a really bad Syracuse team the way they did. So it's something where they've got time to get this figured out, but I think they're behind where I thought they would be at this point in 2024-25.
I hate to say it, I'm with you. This is, I thought maybe they'd be a bubble team for the tournament, at least in the conversation down the stretch. Not saying that they would have gotten in, but they're nowhere near that. I mean, they're nowhere near it. And I realize your best player went down, but they had no answers at that point. Like, they didn't know what to do with themselves when Marcus Burton went down. And that's disappointing. Like, I realize your best player went down, but you got to have a plan B. You've got to know, you at least have to look like a functional basketball program when your best player goes down and have some answers. I'm not saying you're going to win all the games when he's out. I'm not saying that, but they just look like they completely fell apart and they had no identity. They had no idea what they were doing. And that was disappointing to me. I expected a little bit more from them on that front.
I've held out hope the last couple of games that Micah Shrewsberry was just going to scheme his way into a win. I'm still waiting for him to do something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that. It's been disappointing. Now, there's a lot of season left. There's time for me to get back on the bandwagon, but at this point, it's been disappointing. I've had more fun going to women's games, obviously, than the men's games this year. Granted, winning has something to do with it, but they just play so well as a team that it's fun to watch. And that's kind of basketball I enjoy watching. That's why I like college over the NBA, but I digress. So the Chicago Bears have hired former Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson as the head coach, and it all became final yesterday. So do you buy or sell this hire by the Bears?
How about both? I'll buy the fact that Ben Johnson was the hot name, but I'm going to sell the fact that he's going to be successful because that franchise is just set up for failure.
Oh, it's awful.
I think whatever, like it kind of goes back to Mike Bray winning despite being in the ACC. Ben Johnson is going to have to win despite working for the McCaskies. And I just think the organizational structure of that franchise is not set up for success. Some franchises are like that. The Bears were able to capture everything and lightning in a bottle in 1985, but we're a long way away from 1985. And I hope Ben Johnson does well. I hope he has success, but I just think the organizational structure, we talked about the organizational structure when it comes to Notre Dame football, how everybody is aligned. I don't know how much alignment there is in the Chicago Bears as a franchise. There's just too many unknowns as far as who's in charge, management structure, the future of where they're even going to play football, to where there's so much stuff going on off the field that it's hard for whoever the coach is to have success on the field.
It is very disappointing. Just overall the structure of the Bears and everything else, and trying to be a fan of that team. And it's hard. It is really hard. I think they finally got, I think, the coaching search correct. I think they hired the right guy. Now, it's hard to coach when you got both hands tied behind your back and the roster isn't great and all of those different things. I mean, you can be a great coach, but if you don't have the Jimmies and Joes, the X's and O's don't matter, as they say. And so I just don't have a whole lot of faith in the program or in the entire franchise. And so they may have gotten the hire right, but you're right. I'm just not convinced that the future is all that bright, and they may just wear down a really good coach. That could definitely be the case. And then he goes off and is a coordinator again, and then gets another opportunity as a head coach someplace else and probably has all kinds of success. That's what would happen. For this Bears organization is Ben Johnson 10 years from now is the coach of another team that's making the playoffs on a consistent basis. Like that's just how it goes. So that's what I'm anticipating. Hopefully I'm wrong. That would be nice, but just a hard team to root for, Tom. It's just a hard team to root for.
Good luck for Ben Johnson. Good luck.
Yeah, right. I hope he's successful. For all of our sakes, I hope he's successful, but I'm not holding my breath. So, all right, one final one for tonight. Conference championship games in the NFL are this weekend, Tom. And you got the Commanders and the Eagles in the battle of the NFC East for the NFC championship. You got the Bills and the Chiefs. We've seen this party before in the AFC. So give me your winners and then give me your Super Bowl winner.
Can anybody pick against Patrick Mahomes in Arrowhead for the AFC championship game?
I want to.
You can't. I know. I want to too. I'd love to see Josh Allen and the Bills go to a Super Bowl and win, but you got to beat Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm going straight chalk on this baby. It's Eagles and Chiefs, and the Chiefs are going to three-peat.
Oh man. Oh, that's the safest bet I've ever heard. That's because it's probably true. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Like, we're all going to sit here and we're all going to pull up a chair on February, whatever it is, to watch the Super Bowl. And we're just it's gonna be, the Travis Kelce, what's her name show, and then there's Patrick Mahomes, and it's just gonna be brutal to watch. So I'm gonna buck the trend because I think you're right. I'm gonna say Eagles Bills, and I'm gonna say the Bills Mafia finally gets it done in the
Nothing wrong with that.
So that's what I'm hoping for. So
I have family in Buffalo. I would love for them to be able to celebrate a Super Bowl.
There you go. Go ahead.
But again, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City for the right to go to the Super Bowl. TV will say they're not rooting for Patrick Mahomes to win. TV's rooting for Patrick Mahomes to win.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. I don't hide the fact that I'm a Notre Dame fan. And, obviously we were down there in Atlanta, and there's all the Ohio State confetti and everything. And my boss at Penn High School is a massive Ohio State fan. So I brought him home some confetti, and I think it burned through the seat of my car as we were driving back. But I had to do it. I had to do it. And so I brought it home for him. He was very surprised that I was able to do that for him. But, for our Ohio State fan, Archer that's in the chat, great game. And hopefully, Notre Dame can build from all of this moving forward. But Tom, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. And
absolutely,
I'll be calling on you later. Hopefully we can talk about a few more wins that the Notre Dame basketball team has put together.
We need to see progress.
Yes.
And anytime they want to start, go right ahead.
Hopefully it starts on Saturday. That's the next game down in Virginia. Fingers crossed. What are the
another winnable ACC game?
Okay.
Virginia's not a very good program.
Okay.
And again, another situation where you look at it and say, if Micah Shrewsberry is this offensive genius, he needs to figure out a way to scheme Notre Dame to a win, because Virginia, let's face it, Virginia stinks.
Okay.
And I don't want to say that about Notre Dame. Like Syracuse, that's the worst Syracuse program I've seen in the 27 years I've been on this beat.
Wow.
So that's almost 3 decades and 2 conferences ago. Notre Dame has no business losing at Syracuse. They lost. Notre Dame really they're 0-9 lifetime in Charlottesville. They really should be 1-9. They have no business losing to Virginia. And we'll see what happens. But Notre Dame should win that game on Saturday, get some momentum, and then they get to come back at home at 9:00 on a Tuesday night in front of select dozens and play Georgia Tech. So we'll see.
Select dozens. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right. So, Tom, again, thank you for hanging out with me. The reason Tom's here is Sean is in Boston. Their women are playing Boston College tonight at 7:00. So make sure you tune in on the TV, turn down the volume, flip on the radio, listen to Sean Stiers do his thing as the Lady Irish bring home another win, hopefully. So that's tonight at 7:00. So you got 45 minutes to grab some dinner and then watch the women and play some really good basketball. That's usually how it goes, Tom.
There you go.
All right. So,
all right, I'm leaving.
All right, man. Thanks, Tom, for hanging out. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us tonight. We will talk to you guys next time on the Irish Breakdown Podcast.